Smile 2 star Naomi Scott on referencing Kristen Stewart and receiving creepy smiles in public. Please don't. Smile 2 star Naomi Scott has added her name to the growing list of recent genre performances that deserve D awards consideration. From James McAvoy, Split, and Toni Collette, Hereditary, to Lupita Nyong'o, Us, and Mia Goth, Pearl, Scott is the latest example of an actor whose committed work in a highly difficult role shouldn't be overlooked just because of the genre in which it resides. It's well past time to have more than a half-dozen exceptions who manage to take home Oscar statuettes via the horror genre, such as Ruth Gordon, Rosemary's Baby, Kathy Bates, Misery, and Jodie Foster, Silence of the Lambs. In Parker Finn's sequel to his 2022 smash hit, Scott plays Sky Riley, a troubled pop star who's attempting to mount a comeback after surviving a car accident that took the life of her equally famous boyfriend, Paul Hudson, Ray Nicholson. Sky's return to prominence is made all the more difficult when a late-night encounter with an old high school friend results in her being on the receiving end of a fateful creepy smile. Despite his vested interest, Finn genuinely believes that Scott deserves awards recognition. Naomi is an absolute powerhouse. She gives a tour de force performance in Smile 2, and if I was on an awards committee, even unbiased, I would say she absolutely deserves consideration. So I hope that the industry starts recognizing that, Finn tells The Hollywood Reporter. Similar to her celebrated work as Princess Jasmine in Guy Ritchie's live-action Aladdin, 2019, Scott also contributed her vocal chops to Smile 2. She even took things a couple steps further by co-writing 2 tracks as the character of Sky Riley for the movie's 6-song soundtrack EP. Scott then performs most of those songs in various forms throughout the film. The West London native's dedication extended to the horror of the piece, as there's a harrowing scene where Sky slaps herself in order to wake herself up from what she hopes is just a dream or fantasy. But instead of relying on movie magic, Scott insisted on actually striking herself given the weight of the scene. Parker asked me, "Nay, how do you feel about it?" That, of course, is the correct thing to do, but I was like, of course I'm going to slap myself. Scott shares. It had to happen. And quite honestly, everything was so warranted in terms of the moment and Sky and the story. It was completely justified. Based on Finn's scripted vision of a pop star with short bleached blonde hair, Scott willingly chopped off her long dark hair for the role. From there, Scott, Finn and hair department head Angie Johnson took inspiration from a variety of looks, including ones served by Tilda Swinton and a former Charlie's Angels, 2019, co-star of Scott's. Even though she's a friend, she's still Kristen Stewart, and so she's still someone that you reference, Scott says. I sent her a picture of me and her next to each other, and it was Sky's slicked back look at the gala. Kristen had a specific look on a red carpet that I loved, so we rolled with that for Sky's gala look, and I think it worked really well. Part of what helped Smile 2022 make nearly 13 times its $17 million budget was its viral marketing campaign that placed creepy smilers at nationally televised playoff baseball games. Smile 2 has followed suit and then some. But now that the movie is released, Scott respectfully asks fans of the franchise to think twice about treating her like she's Sky Riley. I would just say, please don't creepy smile at me. I'll sit and talk to you about the weather, music, food, your grandma, but just don't do the creepy smile at me, please, Scott stresses. I am really jumpy as well. I'm a sensitive soul, so don't do that to me, please. Below, during a recent conversation with THR, Scott also details a few of Smile 2's most challenging sequences, as well as Sky's overconsumption of Voss bottled water. Yeah, you're right. We did go through a lot, but I'm fine. I'm honestly so happy and so grateful. I get to promote something I'm so proud of and that I love. In years to come, I can show my kids and be like, look what your mom did. So that's pretty cool, and I'm over the moon. When you found out you were in the mix for Smile 2, is there a natural inclination to find the closest mirror and try to create your creepiest smile? Interestingly enough, I was a fan of Parker's. I'd watched his 2020 short film, Laura Hasn't Slept, and then I'd obviously gone and watched Smile. I was such a fan of it, and what really stuck out to me was actually what a character piece it was. Parker was so clearly prioritizing the character piece part of it in order to tell his story. You can't separate the character from it. They're not just used to push the plot forward. So, for me, it was more just, who is Sky? And getting into that, then it was a smile. And who says that I smile in the movie? We don't know, right? Ooh, I would say music, and my love for music has always been a driving force for me. Music was my first love. It felt like the area that I was going to go into, and I've been writing music since I was 14. I love music. I love creating music. So it's just been figuring out the right collaborators for me and who I want to be as an artist, what I want to say, and creating what I want to sound like. It's the biggest blessing to be able to make music and create with people that I think are incredible. So that is the goal, as opposed to any kind of idea of pop stardom. It's more about just being able to have the resources to make music and to share it with anyone who's interested in connecting with you around music. So that's my thing. Which scene would you least like to relive again? Oh mate, there were so many of them, but the freezer was the hardest 4 days of my life, if I'm being really honest. That was really rough. Yeah, the freezer stuff. I have to ask about the slapping scene. It looked incredibly real, so did you go all the way there? Or is it movie magic? Oh my goodness, that was real, of course. Is there a movie magic way where you can slap yourself? That would be crazy, but there probably is nowadays, so I guess you're right. It was absolutely in the script, but Parker asked me, "Nay, how do you feel about it?" That, of course, is the correct thing to do, but I was like, of course, I'm going to slap myself. What's so funny is that there aren't many jobs where that conversation happens and you go, "What do you mean?" Of course, I'm going to slap myself. That just doesn't happen in any other line of work, but yes, it had to happen. It was just part of the thing. And quite honestly, everything was so warranted in terms of the moment, and Sky and the story. It was completely justified. Yes, it was very strange, but what you, initially, see is Sky's perspective or POV from the camera. It was still fun for me, and the dancers were also Sky's dancers in the performance piece. So we'd already built up a rapport, and by the time that it got very physical and intense, and they were grabbing at me, there was a trust there. But I thought their movements were amazing. Their ability to storytell with their bodies and create this almost non-human movement was brilliant.